Okay, Glenda. Okay, Glenda, this is Fabi, and I'm going to just show you a quick demonstration on one of the reasons why I keep pushing you to download one of these free programs. Because, especially after our conversation the other day where you were talking about some of your good ideas, making those little charts and so forth for figuring out your color stops on your designs, it really made me think about how much you actually need software. And I keep nagging you about this, but really and truly, if you're ever going to advance in embroidery and without a whole lot of frustration, you really, really need to get a grip on this and get one of the free programs at the very least. So the most recent one I recommended you getting is the one called the Floriani Creative Express. When you download that and install it on your computer, it's going to put a little shortcut key on your desktop. So double click on it and open it up. And this is what it's going to look like when it first opens. It takes a couple of seconds, but you're going to have an opening screen here. And typically what will happen is you'll be able to just make this go away by hitting the X, or you can come directly into opening a design. I highly recommend this particular free program because it's got lots of free tutorials and inspiration for how to use software in general. Now, this Creative Express software is made by the same company as the Dime Toolshed program. So there's a lot of similarities in the way that the things look and the things that they can do. I'm just going to show you a little bit about this one, and this is one of the reasons why I want you to take the time to learn this simple free program. So let's open a design. Now, when this opens up, it's going to come in the pathway to the last place that you used or the program and where you actually opened a design from. So yours is going to look different from mine right from the very beginning. I think on yours, because it'll be the first time you open it, it's going to open into maybe the free files that come with the program. I can't exactly say, but you need to know how to navigate around your computer. And in this case, we're going to come to this PC and I'm going to come to where my Fabi's embroidery is at. So I'm just showing you that process. Even though I was already there, this is how you're going to get around in your program, okay? So wherever you save your Indigo designs, I don't know what folder you put them in or where they're at on your computer, but for me, I'm just navigating to where mine are at. All right, and here are my designs. I'm going to open up one of the ones for class number 3. I think I'll just do that one and I'll say open and it'll pop into the working screen right here. When it does this, this is what is called the stitch view. If you want it to look like the actual stitches in 3-dimensional mode, different programs are going to call this something different. This program calls it 3D. Other programs might call it True View or something along those lines. Either way, you're going to get a good view of what your design actually is composed of. So one of the things that I just want to demonstrate to you, because we were talking about how you might have to physically stop your machine when it gets to starting a certain area of the design and maybe you don't want it to be part of that color stop. So let's say, for example, if you look over here on the right-hand side of the screen, we've got our little sequence view. This is showing us the parts of the design. Sorry to say, I know that they're a little bit small and you kind of have to figure out what's what here. But some of these big blocks of color, let's say, for example, everything that was stitching out in this particular shade of red, when I click on it, it highlights it in blue so we can see what part of that color stop it actually is. All right, and if we look up here on our top toolbar, this is a little traveling toolbar. If I start sliding this along and just, I'm using my mouse and I'm just watching this thing stitch out manually, I'm going to be able to, let's just say, for example, I'm going to back up all the way into this pink zone. And let's just say, for example, that I didn't want this to be the same shade as that. All right. In our class, we're using this reddish color as our color that I think we called medium. So anyway, I'm just backing up here and I'm just going to try to get to the very beginning of this design. All right. And I'm just sliding, sliding, sliding. So let's say I want that first big petal that was just on the screen a little while ago to be a different color. And I don't want to have to sit and watch my machine. So what I'm doing is I'm hitting this backward arrow here. Click, click, click. And when I start to see that, I'm going to try to zoom in, hitting the forward arrow over here. See that little cursor? It just jumped to the new spot. So I'm going to back up one stitch. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this stop button that's right here on the screen. That doesn't mean stop the stitching. That means it's going to add in a color stop. So I'm going to click stop. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm zooming out a little bit and I'm going to continue. You don't see anything actually physically change on the screen at this point. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to, again, just carefully slide my ruler along. I'm going to use these little arrows here on the screen to get a good view of what I'm doing. And same process. So what I'm driving at right here is I'm going to change this whole section of this flower into a different color. So I'm going to go slowly. When I see that this one has finished stitching, looks like it finished, yep, and it started up here on this petal, so I'm going to go backwards a little bit. All right, when I think I'm almost to the beginning of that one, okay, I'm going to hit my forward arrow, starting to jump to the new one. See that? So I'm going to back up. That's where this flower ended, and that's where it started to jump to the new one. I'm going to hit the stop button again. All right, so what's happened over here on this part of the screen is that it has changed the color of this part of the design into a different color stop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up here, and I can see these stitches right here. So that one was the first part of the pink. What's nice, big and blue right there. And let's just say I'm going to leave them. I want to change it to a different shade of pink. I'm just going to come down to the toolbar down here. If you hit these little arrow buttons, you can travel through many hundreds of colors of thread. I'm just doing this as an example to show you one way that you can add in a color stop. So I'm just going to pick a different color. Let's see, this really bright red, and it changed it bright red here. If I back out of the design, you can see that it's a different color of red. So that's how you add in color stops into your design. And once you save this design, it might be a little bit easier for you to stitch it out on your machine because it's added in those color stops where you want to. So I hope that this makes sense. If you want to try it again, I could do the same thing with this green up here. I could just slide my arrow, and you see now how the color bar changed? It changed it from that original pinky color, added in the red for the next part of that design. Now let's just say I didn't want this part to be that same shade of red as this one. So let's do the same thing. Let's just slide our little arrow carefully, carefully when it's stitching out that one. Let's say we wanted that to be that color. I'm getting towards the end, so I'm going to slow down, and I'm going to just use the little arrow button and click, click, click until it finishes stitching this section of the petals and before it goes to the next one. Looks like it's almost done. Okay, back up a little bit. 1, 2. Hit the color stop button again. All right, so now over here on our toolbar on the right-hand side, the sequence view, you're going to see that we've got a jump stitch coming, and we can see that this color here is a different color. It's a different piece now. It has been separated out. Let's change it to orange just so that we can see the difference. All right, see on the screen, it's now an orange color. So I hope that you can see how helpful it can be to use this particular free program. This is the Creative Express program. To save it, come up to File, Save As. It's the same thing that we've always done for saving any design. Always use Save As because now you can change the name. Down here on the bottom, this is where you have to pay attention because you don't want to save it as this WAF. That's the built-in format for this program and your machine can't read it. You need to click the downward arrow and find the Jeff. So click on Jeff, and let's not call it C3 bottom anymore. Let's change the name just a little bit. So instead of C3 bottom, click in front of the name, turns blue so we can change it just a little bit and call it GL for Glenda -C3 bottom. So that way you've still got the original file that I gave you, but this is your modified version. Say save. And now you've got your design saved. Okay, and it's ready to go to your sewing machine.